Hey y'all, this is my home office. It's where a whole bunch of trip planning, scheming, and emailing happens. I'm about to head out in 2 days to drive to Montana to start the Tour Divide next week. And before I leave, I just wanted to share how I am processing the route I'm about to head out on, and also how I'm planning my POIs and my resupply points. So I'm going to take you through my process real quick. Okay, so I'm leaving for Montana in a couple days, and before I leave, I just wanted to share how I'm processing the route I'm about to head out on, and the POIs and my resupplies, while I still have a nice big computer to work with. First, there are loads of resources already out there for the Tour Divide and the Great Divide mountain bike route. Adventure Cycling Association sells paper maps. They also sell this really awesome app that shows various different POIs, like where there's bike related resources along the route, water resupplies, camping. I find that to be pretty helpful. There's also a lot of participants who have made their work on planning for the Tour Divide public. Some of those include this one, which is a PDF with a list of different resupplies, campgrounds. This one also includes phone numbers. I found this on the Tour Divide Facebook group. And then there's also this cool one which shows the elevation chart and where towns happen in relation to the elevation. But really I've found like the best way for me to familiarize myself with the route I'm about to do is to really do this stuff myself. That way I really get a sense of what kind of resupplies there are, like whether it's a small store or a really big store, or specific things I'm looking for. Like I want to know when there's water along the route, so I know when to resupply and when I don't have to resupply. I also want to know where there's bike shops or like outdoor stores or dispensaries, stuff like that. So what I've done here is I've divided the whole 2,500 mile route into 6 different sections. I find this to be a bit more digestible. It's not going to overwhelm the app when I try to load a file. 2,500 miles is not overwhelming to just think about and look at, but it's also a large file that can kind of bombard an application. So I've done 6 different segments, and that's how I'm going to go through the route. And within here, I have added my own POIs using a lot of these helpful resources, but I've also added some stuff that is more pertinent to what I care about. So a lot of that is water and where exactly the summits occur. So as you can see, the way I like to add POIs to routes is to be in hybrid mode. And what I've done here, the best way to do this is I'm going to go into edit mode. I'm going to put it on drop POI, kind of expand this, expand that. And if in hybrid mode is a great mode to be working in, because not only is it a satellite version, but it also shows labels. So it will label creeks, but it will also show kind of a Google Maps overlay of various different resupply points along the route. So in terms of Eureka, I've marked the grocery store and I've marked the pizza place. This only occurs 10 miles into the route, so I highly doubt I'll be stopping there that early. But then I just kind of slowly move along the route to see if there's anything that really stands out. In this case, I'm taking a look at the first summit and marking where that first summit is. And then just slowly moving around the route to see what sort of things Google shows. And this is some sort of like National Forest cabin available. And while I'm doing this, I'm kind of comparing to what is listed on some of these other resources. So we're in Eureka and between Polebridge here. So we can see Wirtz Hill here. I'll go to some place that has a bit more action. So in Whitefish, you can see all these different various restaurants and stores out here. I kind of mark the ones that are that sound good to me. I kind of look them up on Google Maps. And then down here we've got an outdoor store, some lodging, and further down I believe we have more grocery stores. Yep, right up here. So moving along, I've kind of marked where there might be some potential National Forest camp spots. We've got some more resupplies in Columbia Falls. And I'm just going to skip ahead to where I've started to add some more of my own POIs here, just to get a sense of where I'm going to be able to fill my water. I have added POIs for water. So we've got Woodward Creek here. You can see Woodward Creek labeled, but just because it's labeled doesn't necessarily mean that it's actually there. So it's always good to just really zoom in and make sure you can see water in the creek. And this one looks like there definitely is water in that creek, especially considering there's so much water around. Same with this one, South Woodward Creek. Okay. I'm going to go back to my collections here. Okay, so once I have all this information imported, what my next step to do is to process this information by writing some notes. So this is my note here, and I've divided them into sections. And what I do with this note is to essentially create a cue sheet with my POIs. So at mile 10, I've got Eureka, and I've listed the various different resupply points that are available in Eureka using this Resupply Legend. So we've got food for like a major food store, a small F for a limited food resupply, a W for water, an M for motel, C for campground, R for restaurant, B for bike shop, money sign for bank, and D for dispensary, bus, and airport. I really learned to love this legend through riding the Baja Divide. I believe Nick Carmen and Lil Wilcox came up with this legend, and I've used it ever since for a lot of my rides. It's just a really simple reference point. So what I've done here is at this first number is the mile that the town happens on in this segment. The second number is the distance between this town and the last town. And then this is the name of the town. And then next comes the resupply options that are available in that town. In this case here, I have done 2 numbers in parentheses because a lot of these right here, these resupply points are either off route or they're very limited. So I've kind of marked some of the major resupply points and the distance between these points. So yeah, once I've got that, I usually like to do this at a large computer so that it's much easier to process both things at one time. But once I'm done with that, I download the route onto my phone. I'm gonna do that real quick, show you how I'm doing that. Okay, so go back and I've got my routes in here. Let them load. They're still pretty big routes, so they take a minute to upload. But once they do, it's great. Okay, so I've got my route and I'll be able to see where I am along this route and how far I have to go. I'm going to use this mostly to figure out where I am going to camp and where I am going to pick up water and resupply my water. But alternatively, I'm also going to use my Notes app, which I have my resupply here in my notes, accessible on my iPhone. So yeah, that's just a little bit how I process the route and plan my POIs. This collection is available to the public, so feel free to use it and use it for your own uses. I've also included a full route with all the segments connected together. So when I want to let people know like how far I am along the route or what mile I am in relation to the whole thing, I can pull this up and tell them where I am at. But yeah, I hope this is helpful. Feel free to use this stuff yourself, and yeah, get out there and enjoy.